Tom's resetting his router.
Okay. It's Friday, 6th of May, 2022. In today's much overdue show, we're catching up on all the matches we've missed this last pod, including Derby, Luton and Barnsley, whilst running the rule over the season finale at Peterborough tomorrow at London Road. And I'm John Aspinall. This is the Seaside's podcast match preview show with a bit of reaction. Peterborough United versus Blackpool.
Ollie's already changed the world. A small town from the north of England with a great tradition.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Seaside's podcast on a Friday night. 8 o'clock, just after the official preview show. It's better than the official preview show, isn't that right, Tim? Welcome back.
It feels like an age, doesn't it?
No.
And everywhere I go, whoever I speak to, it is, what's happened to the podcast? Are you not on? Have you stopped doing it? So
it's good to be in demand, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's good to be that people actually miss us when we're not on. I've been doing a Bob Fleming impression for the last 2 weeks. So in traditional podcast style, I've made sure I'm properly lubricated tonight so that I don't.
There's just been an unfortunate events in everyone's lives that seems to have happened at the same time, doesn't it? Illness or one thing or another. So that's why we've been off the air for a couple of weeks, but hopefully normal service will be resumed. Mitch is sporting that beautiful white tracky top purchase from the club shop. We were discussing in the green room just before the pod came on that I always go to the club shop after the season has ended because there's some bargains to be had, and there's one Mitch is sporting.
Well, I think fan media influencers can have a big impact on the fashions, can't they? So, who knows whether this will fly off the shelves at the bargain price of, I think, £24. But I was kind of unsure about a white top. I was thinking, is that a bit awesome?
You look like a bit like doing a bit of an M&M impression or something like that,
Yeah, you could be like in a, like Tim's in his over 50s walking football. You could be like in a, I'm not saying you're over 50s, but
an like a break dancer or something.
Yeah, an over 40s boy band.
Sit up on me stool. Yeah.
It's like
walking
boy band. Like E17 had been reformed, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm quite happy with that vibe. Well, in other news, my sensible mid-range, reasonably priced estate car's gone to the scrapyard.
Oh,
I'm hoping to go and buy a slightly more exciting pure white hatchback car tomorrow. So if I've got that and this on, and stick my sunglasses on, then I'm having a true midlife crisis.
You're rocking.
I think you should get a bucket hat, black the windows out as well.
Yeah, the windows have to be blacked out, don't they?
I was ideally hoping to get one with different coloured wheel arches. But it's white. I was thinking we could get tangerine wheel arches on it, and then we're really rocking.
Well, better so you could get a tangerine car.
Well, yes, that's true.
Get one. You can either get one off Jez Smith, see if that Ford Sierra is still rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
Or
do the old sort of cockpit partridge with it. So yeah, that'll be good.
And to answer Chris's question, Joe is dog sitting.
Yeah.
He's been dog sitting for about 2 months.
I mean, we had a puppy, and he didn't need dog sitting 24 hours a day. So
Yeah, but did you see them when they were scrapping? They were like, they looked like to be a handful,
oh,
didn't they?
there's two, isn't there? Yeah, when we got our dog, it was just one. Must be a bit rough having to handle all that.
I think because I don't think he's got the ability to shut them out of the way, has he, when he's on the podcast? So I think that they're in his face, and it could be a bit of a distraction.
Frank, Stanley, and Mabel. That could be the I don't know, Mabel's a woman's name. Frank and Stanley, they could join the over 40s boy band, maybe the walking boy band. Absolutely. Steve Hutchin, I have the same top, and he'll be wearing it tomorrow. Mitch, there you go.
There we go. See, I've already influenced him without even knowing.
Next thing, you'll be in Dubai, won't you? Sporting it and with the with the palm in the background or something, Yeah, place to be.
I think
Jim says tangerine bucket hats in the club shop. Mitch, I'll buy you one. Okay, right. Your contribution, that can be your payment for this season. In fact, I'll get everyone something from the club shop. Tim, what do you want?
I want one of those white tops. I don't want to join the cool group. It's like being, like it would like the T-Birds from the Grease, won't it?
The what?
Well, they all wear the same top. It was the T-Birds, wasn't it? The John Travolta's gang. Showing me age again.
Yeah,
what's the phrase for
those of a certain vintage?
One's not been rolled out for a while.
You should know that. Anyway, it's the Pink Ladies and the T-Birds, wasn't it? And they all wore the same tops. So
absolutely.
I don't watch films like that, Tim. Yeah.
You never watched Grease?
You've never seen Grease?
No. Never seen Dirty Dancing either.
Yeah, well, I can understand Dirty Dancing. That's cack, but Grease is you need to get your film education sorted. Yeah. Grease has to be watched.
Anyway, Sean, evening. Are you coming on the pod? Because we need some mindless statistics about Peterborough United. So,
because none of us can actually remember any of the games, you need to come on and do them in numbers, so that we know what happened.
And we seem to have lost Tom permanently, don't we?
Yeah, Tom was here. He's just gone. I think he's having an internet problem. So, unfortunately, you're going to have us blaggers for the rest of the show, people. We're going to have to try and muddle through last 3 games and preview Peterborough, their season finale. Firstly, Tim, you were at the Sponsors Player of the Year Awards last night.
I got loads of tidbits. We got loads of tidbits, but we wanted it's like a slow release. When you have one of those little tablets that slow release, slow release them through the pod. So I got loads of them. So I'm going to put Sean to shame with all the in the know bits of info that I've got.
All right, just surmise then what the event was. And
well, it was ostensibly for the people who sponsor individual players. It was like a night for them, and I actually blagged my way in because one of the guys I know, Paul Williams, he's on the longest holiday ever known to man, so he couldn't make it. So me and Sharpie went in his place and stood in for him. So he'd sponsored Hubby. So the idea is you're in the lounge, and the player that you sponsored sits at the table with you and has a bit of a crack during the night. And so we were with Hubby. Matty Virtue was meant to be there, but he's ill, so I don't think he'll be playing on tomorrow. And neither will Connolly, because he was off. He went home ill as well. So
ill or ill.
Well, they were ill that they couldn't stay and do there. So all the players were there. 2 of the players missing were Dougal and Lavery, who I don't think will feature tomorrow either. So there's your first tidbit, because they've been given an early summer break because of they're going to have international duties, and I think Critch wants them back at the start of pre-season, so he's letting them have a holiday now and miss this game rather than have them come back late, which I think is quite sensible.
Speaking of Shane Lavery, he came down to our Bolton Under-9s training session for the Tangerine Teammates initiative a couple of weeks ago now. It was brilliant. So
I've got to say, I think that is, and Brett Gerrity has organised that. I think it's one of the best things that the club's ever done to interact with the community. I really do. I think it's because I've seen it up through all the different clubs and all these different players turning up in different clubs. And obviously, you can tell us about your experience, but it's just that cements relationships between kids and the football club, doesn't it? Massively.
He started off doing a Q&A, so all the kids were just sat on the floor. And so I think we've got two teams there. There must have been 20 plus kids, and there was a Q&A. So they were asking him all these questions. They were all a bit nervous at first, but once they got going, they wouldn't shut up, and you could tell they were in awe of him. He was really top. He was a really nice guy as well. And it was a great initiative. And then we did shooting drills from the three teams, and he's giving advice of how you finish, how he'd finish. That thing. I said, can you? But they wouldn't let him kick a ball, which sort of annoyed me a bit. I thought,
well, a few years ago, Wes Hooligan came to one of my training sessions on Baines. You know the pitch there, the Astro there, and he came down there and he's like dancing through all the players. And my players are trying to fucking hack him down. It's like, no, he's got to play.
What age group was this, Tim?
They were about 13 at the time, I think, and they all wanted to take him out. And he was not much bigger than any of them.
That's what I say, yeah.
We had Charlie Adam. Charlie Adam once played in the dads versus lads game at Bolton, because obviously we know in Parish he'd come down and I was organising the dads versus lads game, and I said, "Oh, Charlie, I didn't think he would, but I said, do you fancy playing and come on my team?" And he went, "Yeah, go on then." So he joined in the game, and I was like, every time everybody went anywhere near tackling, I'm thinking, "No, don't injure him." But he didn't hold back; he got right stuck in. So,
was he playing for us at the time? Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Premier. It was just before we went to the Premier League. Yeah,
Imagine
so it's like just before the start of the season, and he turns up and he's joining in the dads versus lads game, and people are like diving in on him, and I'm thinking,
you could have been responsible for ruining the season in the Premier League.
So I was quite glad when he got through that unscathed, to be honest.
Yeah. It sounds like a great idea to sponsor a player if you get all that as well. So you get just a table. And you get to is there like I don't know? Do you sit at a table with the player?
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, so you're in the program and everything all year that you're the sponsor of that player, and then I don't know whether they do any other dues, but obviously at the end of the season, it was on for about, because I think we turned up just after 6 o'clock and we were there to about 9ish, so it's quite a civilized but relatively early do, and the Critch spoke, and Ben Mansford spoke, and to be fair, the players looking around the tables, and obviously we've got something to talk about later, which obviously I'll keep the powder around that. But they were all really, really. They weren't just sat in there looking glum and thinking, "Shit, I'm here and I've got to do this." Hubby was on our table, was brilliant. It was like really interactive. Gave a few little tidbits about the way things go. He sort of knew Sam anyway, because he used to be at Fleetwood when Sam was there. So we had a really, really good chat. The kids were coming around, which I think is brilliant, and getting all the things signed. And they couldn't have done enough for everybody was there, which was fantastic. And then you get their shirt signed, framed.
Who gets to keep it?
And you get to keep that. So whoever. Obviously, if it's just you, obviously, if there's a few of you sponsored, then you have to decide how you're doing it. So I know, like BST, they'd sponsor some players, and they gave their tickets to the guys who do the volunteering at the ground. Go down out clearing up.
Right, yeah.
So they went, and I think they're going to. I'm not sure what they're doing with the shirt, but I know like the AVFTT had done one through Gareth, and that they're donating the shirt to the Armfield Club to go towards the murals. So it's a great. I know there's been a bit of thing on the podcast patrons, but I think we need to be in there next year.
Yeah, we're going to do one. So
do at least what we need to a player, and then we can send Mitch along to do at the end of the season, so he can.
So we are going to get our heads.
Gazzy's coffee in an aerolator then, and then we're done. Then life's over.
So we are going to sponsor a player next season, TBC. But just to give you a clue as to who we might go for, Tim recorded this little video snippet, which we'll play for you now.
Hi Matt, thanks for starting off my fan club. Love you on the podcast and you take care, mate. Thank you.
Be still my beating heart, I think, is the phrase, Mitch.
I don't really know what other life goals I've got left now. I've just sort of, this must be what it feels like to climb Everest or something, you know, and as you get to the top and look down and think, well, what next? Or once you've been to, you know, like Neil Armstrong going to space, and then, well, what's the rest of his life like?
Mitch,
you know?
so just don't go on like a downward spiral of depression. You know, when a sportsman reaches the zenith of the profession and they retire, don't they? And they can't get any higher than that, and they try to chase that buzz elsewhere. So please reach out to me if your mindset goes like that, because life does not get any better.
And Martin's on the chat, so and he's noted, fellas, we want Medine so that Mitch can sit next to him at the end of the season too, and that will be. I don't. It's beyond climbing Everest, isn't it? It's climbing Everest without any oxygen and all that business.
No Sherpa assistance, soloing.
Like a flight to Mars.
So, Martin, get your people to speak to my people, and we'll thrash out a deal. So to be decided, but yeah, superb. Dennis just asked him, did husbands say if they ever watched the podcast? And did you ask Medine?
Well, I did ask Medine, of course, and he's clearly an avid viewer, because he knew Matt and everything.
Seriously, seriously. Or are you just making it up?
I might have coached him.
Did you ask him?
You should have asked. With Hubby, I don't think Hubby had watched the podcast. I think his interests lie elsewhere, swinging a golf club and whatever else.
I think if I was a professional footballer, the last thing I would want to watch is 4 blokes who are professional footballers scoring me out of 10. I think that's the last thing I would do.
I don't know, Mitch. Some of them, I think you would. I think you'd be too tempted to go and dip in.
Well, I think maybe
what you're saying about me, I would.
I think the likes of Jimmy and Gaz have probably learnt the lesson by now. Maybe some of the younger lads might be interested, but
what it makes you realise actually is when you sit next to these guys, because obviously you watch them from the stands, is how bloody young they are. And me and Sharpie were saying, Jesus, they're young. And then I said, actually, Sharpie, we're old. We're knocking on now, but obviously they're all in the 20s, aren't they? So we've got a young hipster in the bottom left-hand corner here, of course.
I was about to say Sean won't have that problem for quite some time.
I was just about to say, I wish I'd have heard all of Tim's in the know info before I did a terribly wrong predicted lineup already for tomorrow. So that's good.
Yeah, I've got a few other tidbits. I've drip feed.
Drip them out. Yeah.
I think, Sean, we need to strip you of that accredited title and pass it over to the old boy sat to your right.
Quite right as well.
When we come to the team selection, I'm properly in the know later on. I'm your man.
You have to get a couple wrong so that it's not all the way there.
Yeah. I never get it right anyway. Critch is picking the team. Come on.
As I've said though, it's our team, isn't it? It's not what Critch is going to pick, as I keep saying. Anyway, welcome, Sean. Anyway, how are you doing? Where are you?
I'm in Peterborough, and I have a lot of food next to me. I over-purchased a lot of food, which I now probably won't eat half of, but yeah.
Are you planning to meeting up with Darren McAntony tomorrow?
We go way back. Yeah, me and Darren go way back, so I'm sure we'll catch up before the game.
I had a bit of a Twitter spat with him as well, if anyone remembers. I got accused of scuppering the Ollie Norburn deal. I think I actually said...
You'll have to pray tell, John.
I was like saying to him, well, you might as well sell it now because he'll be a League One footballer next year. And he got the ump when I said that. And someone said, yeah, you've scuppered the deal. But that ACL has scuppered that deal. So Sean, I feel for you in a Peterborough Linton travel tavern. Is there a Corby trouser press there for you to have a tinker around with?
Yeah, it's not the best. Let's put it that way.
I hope you're not hitting 9.
Lifestyles of the rich and famous, eh? What a life. Right, let's get on with this show, which as we've said, it's a bit of a preview Peterborough game, but also a catch up of the games we have missed. So, gentlemen, let's take it from the Barnsley game. Barnsley 0, Blackpool 2. Thank God Sean's here, because you've got more of a memory than us in our 40s and 50s. The old grey matter is slowly dwindling away. And you youngsters should be retaining all this information. Barnsley, from memory, there was 2 goals. Owen Dale, what a strike! And I think we were all a bit disparaging of Owen Dale, weren't we? And he's come up with that piece of absolute magic.
Well, I was actually quite disparaging of him on the game. If you remember in the patrons chat, I think I typed something like, "What does Dale actually offer? Does he just like stand there and do a step over before he gets the man? I can't see the point of him." And then about 3 minutes later, he pulled that absolute perler out the bag to shut me up. And I thought he actually played really well in the rest of the game, to be honest. I thought he that goal sort of perked up, and you kind of recognised the player we'd seen flashes of against Reading, or more than flashes of against Reading, sort of a pretty pyrotechnic firework display against Reading, and then we've never really seen since. And then that player kind of that we were all so excited about when we first got him, and seemed to reappear. So it was a good sign.
It's also twas ever so, isn't it?
Oh, no, Tim, let me do this because it's a perfect segue. Speaking of pyrotechnics, who remembered Chisnall doing his shit over the smoke bomb as it came on?
Yeah, it reminded me of, you've made your point, now get off.
Yeah.
He was absolutely, for those that didn't listen to it or see it, he was doing his nut about
He really was.
a smoke bomb being thrown onto the pitch. And it irked a lot of people, didn't it, Tim?
I think he comes... I've sort of met Chiz a few times. He comes across as a bit school mastery, which I think he was a headmaster in his past life, wasn't he? And I think sometimes if you commentate on the game, you just commentate on the game. You don't start passing judgment. Now, listen, whatever you think about the use of pyrotechnics, it's not. I don't think it's the commentator's place to get involved in it. Just like it wasn't the commentator's place to get involved in the Huddersfield protest. You know, you keep to the script, and that's my view. And then you don't piss people off because it does, doesn't it? You know, yep. It's you should be talking about Owen Dale's goal, not that.
Sean,
That's
you were going to say something?
Anyway. Yeah, I was just saying there's some great pictures of when Casey celebrating his goal and the puff of smoke just around him. I thought it was great. So I love all that.
I do. Did anyone see the Eintracht Frankfurt fans yesterday? There's some pictures coming out from their display. Jesus Christ. I think Chisnall would have had a heart attack with all those pyrotechnics.
I went to Kaiserslautern once, and literally it was. And bear in mind that they were like body searching you when you went in, and they had these. And they were literally it was like it was almost like an organised firework display inside the away end, and they were going off sequentially all the way down the pitch, then all the way back again. And
so it was organised pyrotechnics,
properly organised, and yet they got body searched when they went in. And so I'm thinking, well, how do you get body search and then get all those in and then set them all up and set them all off in order? Right.
It might have been a body search. I don't know. Has everyone ever seen that video that does the rounds on Twitter? The worst body search ever by a steward. He's really not into his work. He just runs his hands down like that. Just down the side for someone, doesn't even touch them and sees them going in.
They must have done the equivalent to the tennis ball thing at Blackpool, where they decided they were going to stop everybody getting in, didn't they? So you couldn't chuck the tennis balls at Burnley game, and they completely forgot that if you went into the Seaside or the Seafarers bar beforehand, you could have. And they all stored the tennis balls in the roof void up there, and of course, then they lock it outside, and it's open the second half, and they retrieved them all at half time. So,
just as I got banned for that game.
What, for throwing tennis balls?
For putting a picture of Roger Federer on Twitter the day before. So I got to the ground and my season ticket wouldn't work because they'd stopped it.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. That shows how much they were micro-analysing everything that was going on, wasn't it, at the time?
If anyone has a little day trip to St Anne's, this always makes me chuckle whenever I go, just off the square next to the M&S food hall, which I'm sure you visit, Tim, when you're in that area. There is a bar called there's a chippy called the Seafarers. It always makes me chuckle whenever I see it.
It's quality.
When we had the best ride that we've ever been on, we've lost Mitch. Where is he? Anyway, so back to the Barnsley goal game. Kenny Dougal finally scoring, Tim. I'm sure that pleased you to see Kenny finally get off the season.
What are you on?
Dougal set piece, sorry. It was Dougal set piece, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I say you confused me.
Sure, these were notes that I wrote. I actually wrote notes. It's Dougal set piece.
I'm thinking, I watched the game, but I don't remember that.
I was like, did I miss this large portion of the game?
It was Casey, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Barnsley
they were terrible.
The poorest team we've seen, haven't we? I think I almost felt like throughout the game that we didn't need to get even out of first gear, never mind second gear. So it wasn't a great performance, but it was good to get the win because obviously we'd had a couple of results around it, haven't we, which weren't so great. And I mean, I think Kenny's set plays have improved a bit. To be fair, I still think he should never go anywhere near a corner. But he's when we're sort of like in that last third, and there's a ball to be curled into the box. I think he's got a role to play in those. That's my sort of assessment of it.
But Barnsley, Sean, a terrible side down on the lock and down on any kind of quality. Poor, weren't they? Very poor.
They sent their best players back, didn't they? Like an hour before the game. So there was, Bassi and someone, I forget the other guy's name, but they were like their two best players, and they sent them back because obviously they just didn't bother playing the lone players for the rest of the season. And it was the caretaker's first game in charge, and I think you knew that they had nothing to play for. We had nothing to play for, but we don't ever play like that. I don't think we've ever played where you feel like we've got nothing to play for. And it was a good opportunity for a lot of the rotation players to get some minutes as well. So that was the most important thing out of the game. I think that they proved their worth.
Rotation players, is that a thing?
Well, I mean, it can't be. Some of them I wouldn't even call rotation players because they barely play at all. But you know what I mean, like the outside squad players. But talking about Dale, just going back to Dale, I think like he's had limited minutes, but every single game that he's played, he's had a moment, or pretty much every game that he's played, he's had a moment where he's provided that bit of quality that you need. And I think that is it worth a player sort of zoning in and out of a game for 60 minutes if you know that they can provide that for you, rather than having a player that perhaps is 6, 7 out of 10 for 90 minutes, but isn't quite doing the final third stuff? I'm kind of talking about CJ Hamilton, really.
Yeah, it's like Dale. And also you're almost talking about a championship version of Kai, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of, to be fair, because like if you think about it, if you're based on purely numbers, then you're looking now at the squad that we've got, and I think it's more important to have a player that probably does fade out of the game, but provides those moments when you need him in tight game.
Or he comes on a sub and does it in 20 minutes if he can.
Yeah, that'd help. Yeah.
You like stats, don't you, Sean?
Yes, I do, John. We'll swiftly move on.
Bit of an in-joke.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, cannot tell all of that.
No, okay.
So let's move on to Luton away. In my notes, I put the Twin Towers starting lineup, Sean, which was Medine and Beasley starting. And where's Mitch gone? This could be his moment.
Can I just say how dreadful their ground is? And I know that there's like a romanticism about shit grounds, but that I can't even begin to describe how run down that gaff was. I'd literally, like, you scrambling over these like broken seats to get to the end. When I was going to interview Critchley after the game, you go down to the tunnel, you're scrambling over these like broken chairs in the stands, and I was like, how is this past any form of safety certificate? It's just absolutely woeful place.
Actually, when I was on the interim board, it was one of the few games where I actually went as a representative of the club. Because normally I went to Barnsley with John came with it. I might take a car parking space or something. Other than that.
there was absolutely nothing preferential.
No.
about that
Well,
trip,
I went pulled me on.
even the car park.
That's what I wanted to do. But Luton, Ben Hatton turned around to me and said, "Oh, what you up doing this Saturday?" So I said, "Do you want to come?" Because he was going on his own. And so me and Elliot went, and I get all that. But I did have a sort of sense of romanticism about it, because you turn up and it's just like walking into a ground from the 1970s, and like you walk down the old corridor and there's all these pictures of Bob Hatton. They had pictures of Bob Hatton because of course Bob Hatton joined Luton after he played for Blackpool, and they had all the old teams there. It was really, really old fashioned. I think they've got plans to relocate to the edge of the on one of the junctions of the M1, and no doubt that. But they were talking about that 3 years ago. I think it's been delayed because of COVID. But I actually, in a bizarre way, I did like it because it was proper. I always thought Luton's ground was a little bit like Bloomfield Road used to be, because they used to have terrace behind one goal that was under cover and standing all the way around. I know it's changed a bit since, but it was sort of a little bit like the way Bloomfield Road was back in the 1970s. And I've always quite liked it for that.
The corrugated iron roofs, that's
and they used to have this, they've got the seats bolted to the terrace, haven't they, Sean? So it's like literally, or if you think of the West Paddock in the old days, they've just got seats bolted to what was the equivalent of the West Paddock. And then they've got that shitty thing down one side, which you always see on the TV, which makes it look worse, which is like where they put sponsors, and there's basically nothing else on that side of them. These look like porter cabin style sponsors boxes. It
looks like there's a load of conservatories just down the side.
Yeah, I thought it was like a double glazing, like they just got a double glazing office like on the stadium attached.
And the whole ground's in like the most rundown part of. I mean, Luton's not a great place anyway, but it's in the most rundown part of Luton that you're ever going to come across. So the whole ambience is a little bit subdued, shall we say?
Eddie 8, my son, he's picking up the footballing terminology as I take him through all the games, and he said to me, he said, "Daddy, that ground's a bit tin pot, isn't it?" I thought he's used that perfectly in the context. It certainly was. I always remember that away end. That always used to get me whenever I went there. Whether you're in someone's backyard, you're literally the away turnstile is a terraced house that's been just knocked through at the bottom, but they've retained the top, which is someone's flat. And you go in
Arsenal.
What?
Where were you on about though? Luton or Arsenal?
Luton.
Oh, you're on about Luton. I thought you were just saying generally as an away ground.
No. Who said
Arsenal had the same setup, didn't they? At Highbury, where you effectively went through people's gardens to get into the ground at one place. So yeah.
Mitch, where have you been? We're just talking about washing lines in the Luton away visitors terrace entrance. Yeah, and how tin pot it is.
But the character.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to. Don't recall someone's Instagram. No, I did, Steve. Anyway,
you just went the wrong way. You just ended up in some randomer's back garden, John. There wasn't even one there.
But you do miss it.
You do.
A lot of the old grounds had a lot of quirks, didn't they? And
yeah, definitely.
You don't get those quirks in the same way with all the new grounds. I remember going to Scunthorpe's old ground, and it was a really weird setup. And everywhere you went, there was always a weird thing. You know, like Southampton had that weird terrace behind one goal, and we all become a little bit being Jewish, don't we?
I watched the Arsene Wenger documentary on Amazon Prime the other day, and he did a bit of a tour around the old stadium. He was talking about the old Highbury Stadium, and that was like that. And you should see how thin and minute the players' tunnel is. It's just tiny. You know, the touching shoulders as they're going out. So yeah, lot of grounds have lacked all that character. But onto the game itself, if anyone can remember, we had a very poor start and a very soft goal. Was it 2 or 3 minutes in? Terrible
Literally
defending.
2 minutes, yeah.
Deflected, bad defending. But cometh the hour, cometh the man. Big Gaz getting his 9th of the season. CJ Sean on a decent run. Being clipped.
Yeah, because he did another one a bit later on in the game and made an absolute arse of it. But yeah, he's people don't quite know how to handle CJ because I don't think he quite knows what he's doing himself. So there's a lot of unpredictability about the way he is. But yeah, it was a good run, and I mean, it was silly from the defender to bring him down because I think he overhit his touch really. But yeah, Gary obviously buried it, which we can't say for his most latest one.
Mitch is on. Big Gaz is on 9 now for the season. It was a decent pen, but he kind of replicated it against Derby, which we'll come on to. Tim, Luton had a disallowed goal right at the death, which was I think we'd have been disappointed somewhat.
I'm trying to even remember that.
When Keogh, Sean, you go through it. You were there. Keogh,
Keogh
fouled.
Keogh just he's so strong there forward at Luton, and it's just he just couldn't handle it. He just fell off balance, and it's not a foul. But I think generally the referee was appalling throughout the game. To be honest, I think the amount of times that I think on the stats afterwards, Alan Campbell had made 6 fouls and hadn't received a booking. And I mean, he was on for a booking after the second one. They were both blatant yellow cards, and then he ended up clocking up 6. They always play on the edge of being physical and just fouling constantly. And I feel like for a lot of the game, they were just fouling constantly, and it was just being let run. And the minute that Luton get that sense that they're going to be able to do that more often, then that's when they play their best football, because they know that they can kind of edge on the line that way. And we just weren't set up to deal with it, but we shouldn't be set up to deal with it because they were fouling us. And I think the referee almost made up for it at the end with the disallowed goal, because he gave like 50, he'd let 15 things exactly the same as that go throughout the game. So I don't really know why he then decided that that was the time he was going to do it.
And there was the incident when Luton Mitch arguably should have had a pen. He's not give it. CJ's got the ball with Broke. He's been absolutely taken out. But then I think the refs realised, shit, I should have given a pen earlier. So he's not given the foul. He's booked CJ for diving. It was ludicrous.
Yeah, that was Kesh in the box, wasn't it? Where he seemed to go like literally straight through their player in the box, and and then the other one was just as unequivocal, if that's the word. It was unequivocally not a dive, but then he books him. Did he book him? I think he booked him for diving, didn't he? And but I mean, it was one of those refs where you kind of, how can I put it? You just kind of after a while just accept that the ref is just like a random factor in the game. He's not noticeably siding with one side or the other. He's just making seemingly random decisions here and there. So he was in fact, I think he was
equally shit for both. He was equally shit for both teams.
Yeah.
I think he ref the semi-final of the Champions League on Wednesday night as well. Same ref.
I think it's what interesting what Sean said. I think it was interesting what Sean said before is about not being set up to deal with it. I think actually, I don't know if you've covered this or not because I kept going in and out, but if you remember the Luton game at home, it was one of the few games where we really did just get pushed over by a nasty team that bullied us. And we were just sort of blown away by them we didn't particularly play worse badly, but we just sort of 3 times they just kind of seemed to come and muscle and score a goal. And I actually thought we did deal quite well with that sort of horribleness of Luton. You might have covered that when you talk about the lineup, but I actually quite liked the whole we'll have 2 big lads up front. If you're going to be nasty, we'll put big bruises up front. I thought we actually dealt with that quite well.
You missed the intro. I did reference you. I called it the Twin Towers starting lineup. I said Mitch would have loved it.
Well, I did. I really enjoyed some moments where Gaz flicked on for Beasley or vice versa, and he just looked comically ridiculous. I mean, like a big lumbering lad to chase on the flick on. I was just enjoying it greatly.
The Twin Towers. Ooh, that's going to be our
It was
potent.
like watching sort of Luton. It was like Luton. We were playing Luton. It was like watching, I don't know, Watford versus Wimbledon from 1989 or something. You know, it was great.
Bash the bash.
Absolutely.
Right, let's move on to the last home game of the season, which was Blackpool 0, Derby 2. Tim, it was a fantastic occasion with the whole of the East full. And it was good to see all the Derby fans there.
It was actually interesting. I discussed that with hubby last night, and he said his take on it was we let too many of them in, because he said when you're actually playing as a player, the last thing you want is that all down the side of the ground when you're playing down that side. It's all right when there's half that section, but he said it's actually quite intimidating, and he said as a player he felt that it was too much. But I've got to say, as a fan,
that's interesting. That's really interesting.
It was, because I sort of said to him, I started off the conversation by saying, what do you think of the atmosphere against Derby? I said, because I said it, for me, allowing the away fans in the north was brilliant, because in the north section of the east, because all of a sudden you really got the north stand bouncing off against the away fans, which you don't normally get. And that was his take on it, was as a player, it's shit and we shouldn't do it.
That is interesting.
He just said it gives too much to the opposition. So yeah, and it wasn't. It made me think again, thinking, well, yeah, it's fine, but maybe obviously when the East gets redeveloped, they're going to have a rejig about where the away fans go anyway, no doubt, aren't they? But
I actually went and stood in the north for the second half for an end of season treat. So I took me and Eddie, my sister.
I think it's quite unusual to have a side like that.
And it was great though, because you have the banter with the away fans. What are you laughing at, Sean?
It was great.
And at the end of season
Mitch's intermittent just comments because his internet's lagging. I think he's back now.
Yeah, he's frozen.
I'm not sure he is. I think he's still.
No, he's not.
I know he's back.
Well, it feels like I'm back, but I can't tell whether you can hear me or not. So there we go.
So what was your opinion of it then, Sean? You're obviously in the thick of it. You were right in the middle of two sets of Derby fans.
Yeah, look, it was obviously amazing, and it made it more entertaining in a game where it's really hard to keep attention on the game and keep focused on the game. There's probably 5-10 minute spells where I just was hardly paying attention to what was going on the field. But I kind of side with husband to an extent, because I just feel like I don't want to become the team that gives away supporters 25%. You want teams not want to come to Bloomfield Road. You want it to be, this is our place, and having like 4,000 away fans having a party in the away end kind of takes away from that edge. I like the edge the North has. I think when you see when it is half empty, the away end, and then you kind of see teams you saw Blackburn earlier in the season really just get blown away by it. And that it was that nasty edge. And I just like having like that intimidating atmosphere. And I feel like that kind of takes away from it. But by the same token, it was an amazing experience to be part of.
I love the jump around if you're going down.
Yeah.
And I think there's maybe it's too cozy, but I think there's quite a little bit of mutual respect between Blackpool and Derby. They've been through a pretty shit time, albeit for different reasons than us, but they were reasonably supportive of us when we were.
They actually chanted Oyston out, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Park. And actually, when I went to Derby this year, where we didn't play well, but they really got behind the team, behind the goal, and their idea was we're going to create a great atmosphere so that any new owner will think this is worth taking on, and it's a different way to we approached it, but I can see the value in that, bearing in mind the scenario they're in, because it was different to ours. And there was a lot of probably a little bit too much, but quite a lot of mutual backslapping going on during the game, wasn't there? Mutual chants.
It was too nice, Tim.
It was
too
a little
nice.
bit. I like it a little bit edgier, to be fair.
Yeah. It was end of season though. I don't think that if there'd have been anything to play for, I don't think that would have happened. But I take both your points. Steve Hutchins just said, personally, would rather see the ground full. If we win, it would shut most of the fans up anyway. I'm kind of in that camp of I'd rather see it full than half empty.
Yeah, it was
I think
15,
the players just have to deal with it.
That's the biggest crowd since homecoming day. That was on last Saturday, wasn't it? Yeah, last Saturday. Big, So and it's a pity we didn't win, because I'd loved us to. And I think so we're going to go and talk about the game, but I think it starts with Gaz's shit pen, doesn't it? To be honest, because he did. Apparently, that's the fourth time he's put the ball in the same place. Actually, this is what Hubby told me. It was great. It was great sitting to a play last night, because you did get these little tidbits. He said he was told don't put it in the same spot again, that was the fourth time in a row he'd done it the same way, and he got caught out. And perhaps what I did take out of the game, which I thought was fantastic, was this this relationship with Keogh and all this chanting of Keogh scores and we're on the pitch, which I thought was a great little under story, so shall we say. And there was a little bit of a suggestion that Keogh might take the penalty, and it came out last night as well at the do, because
Medine offered the ball when everyone was chanting Keogh when the penalty. Medine lifted the ball up and he offered it to Keogh. Did you ever see that?
It was interesting. It cropped up last night because Keogh came up for a chat, and Jed Mills was doing the interviews, and Jed basically said, "Look, why didn't he take it?" He said, "Well, you haven't seen me shooting and training. It's dog shit, basically." And
I disagree with that. I think he's a good footballer, isn't he?
Oh no, but it was self-depreciating, wasn't it? It was obviously thinking. So he was, but everybody was like egging him on a bit. So when Critch comes up, so Jed goes, right, so if there's a penalty on Saturday, who's taking it? It's quite funny because Medine sort of said, "Yeah, go on then," and they went over to Jerry, and Jerry basically said, "No effing chance if I'm on the pitch." So it's good banter, but it's in what I like was the dynamic between Keogh and the fans, and the fact that everybody's willing him to score a goal. And it'd be interesting to see whether we offer him a new contract. I think we should do. I think is he just on a 1 year, Sean?
He's got an option in the deal, but I think, judging by what Critchley was saying, I think perhaps maybe they're doing like an additional year on top of that potentially if they're going to.
I hope they do, because I think he's proved his worth this year without a shadow of a doubt, hasn't he?
I guess it depends what he's getting on, isn't he? I think he's got 2 more years in him easily. The way he's played this season from 6 games on has been immense, and the way he can step out with the ball.
He's a fit lad as well, isn't he? I know he's knocking on it, but he's very lean, and
he's such a good.
You've never looked at him and thought he's too slow, or you've not given that impression at the moment. And that's the first thing you notice with centre backs, isn't it? When the pace drops off,
yeah.
And when you think they can't do it, then they start to think, well, maybe they should step aside. But I think it's been brilliant for Marv. Interesting. Again, one of my little tidbits. Interesting. I think basically every player Marv got the fans player of the year, but he also got the players player of the year. And according to Hubby, pretty much all the players voted for Marv. And I think Keogh plays a big role in that for me. I think Keogh's made Marv a far better player than he was 12 months ago.
Do we think Marv would have been the recipient of all those awards had he been playing next to Michael the Sheriff, Nottingham?
I think we all know the answers to that one.
It's mental that was under Neil Gritchley. Like that was happening under Neil Gritchley. feels like a million years ago.
And it was, and I still stand by my comment. That was the worst centre-back partnership I've ever seen.
I think you said even going back to the 80s, didn't you? Even the real days. I remember you saying it, and it was. Obviously, the game was pretty irrelevant. 2-0. It was quite a dire performance. Looking purely at the football,
I thought we were okay. I thought we were okay. I just think that we had zero quality in the final third, and we made 2 poor mistakes at the back. And in games where you're okay, then you've got to be on it, on and off the ball in the final third, and we weren't at both ends of the pitch.
We actually had some decent chances that we just, even right at the end, Jerry had a chance, which he should put away. I think Kirk had a chance. I thought, and I love Keshi. I thought Keshi was quite wasteful in that game, and then he obviously missed a penalty. So you start totting all those up, and I think the scene was set when we missed the penalty. I think it would score the penalty, it'd been a completely different game.
It would have been into double figures as well, Tim, if he'd have scored. And
Matt would have been eulogised. Oh, he's back. We're just talking about Medine, and he would have been on 10 goals.
We were literally talking about Medine, and you appeared.
It's as if by magic, the shopkeeper appears.
We just said, Mitch, if he'd have scored that pen, he would have been double figures.
Double figures, absolutely. Well, still time.
I don't think he's going to play tomorrow. That was my vibe from yesterday. So he may be stuck on 9, Mitch.
Well, we know I've always maintained the goal machine is not merely there to score goals; he's there to create goals. He's there to just give off the aura of goals and just make everybody else better. So,
what was that saying we had? More than just a goal machine.
Absolutely.
We should have those in t-shirts. More than just a goal machine.
I have to say, first time I probably spoke to him last night. What a lovely gent he is, big unit, I hasten to add. Really, really big unit, but what a lovely guy. And he was more than happy to do a little soliloquy for our Matt here.
Where is it? Where's the Timism
gone? He's gone.
There you go. You can tell it's been a while.
What just happened?
Do it again. There you go. Soliloquy. I think you've had that one though in the past.
I have in the past. It's a repeat, but you can do a brace on it. I could go for a hat trick at some point in the future.
Well, I'm just happy to have been officially endorsed as the gatekeeper of Club Gaz, having maintained for a long time that Sean is locked out of the Club Gaz clubhouse on the outside, knocking to come in. That I've actually been, that's been endorsed officially by Gaz himself. I wondered what would be the equivalent for Sean of what video message would make him as happy as Gaz has made me. And I thought that probably the truth was that if you got one of the data analysts to record it, she'd have been probably equally as happy.
You love a stat, don't you, Sean, don't you?
I do love a stat, mate, don't I? On stats, we're the on XG for the last 6 games. We've got the best XG ratio in the league, so we're not playing too badly.
When they were talking to Marv about who gets Player of the Year, he was saying that obviously the data analyst at Blackpool, sorry, his name escapes me. He puts all these little pieces together for all the players. And Marv was saying he'd learned a lot because for every game, he gets all the breakdowns of what all the opposition strikers do, what the moves are, what they're known for. And it helps him plan as to how he's going to defend against them, which I think is, I suppose it's like standard, but when you've been used to Blackpool and our approach to the way that we think, I don't think that's the type of analytical approach that's ever been adopted before.
Well,
Hubby was also saying you can't go anywhere in Blackpool without Critch knowing what you're up to, where you've been. It's just like he's like eyes everywhere. And if they go playing golf, they're not allowed to walk around the golf course. They've got to get a buggy because he wants to control all the physical activity. So It's the minutiae, isn't it? It's the minutiae that
hang on a minute.
they're controlling. They're listen, and you can understand why, can't you? Because if you're saying, well, I want this player to do that amount of exercise per day, if they're going off the golf course and they're looking a bag around and they're walking another 5 or 6, 7 miles, he's saying you can play golf, but you get a buggy because I know exactly how much you should be doing. I don't want you doing any more.
Why are all our players injured all the time?
Well, Obi reckons it's the training ground.
Yeah, no, fair point. Yeah,
he reckons the training ground, because I've got to say, from my experience, I always thought the pitches were okay, but he just says the way that they are, the way that the sand is, he said they're either bone hard or they're really, really soft, and he just said he just doesn't think it's great. Now whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, but there's got to be something in it. We seem to get an unbelievable number of hamstring injuries, don't we?
Yeah, but don't they get injured mainly when they're playing?
Yeah, but the point being is if you're training on, I don't know. I mean, I know nothing about this type of stuff, but if you're training on a certain type of surface all time, all week, then maybe it gives you a higher propensity for an injury than you might otherwise have.
I don't buy that. I think
listen, it was just I asked him. I said, "Look, we've had a frigging load of injuries this year. What do you reckon it's up to?" And his straight answer was training ground. Now, whether it's right or whether it's wrong, that's the player's analysis of what's causing it. Now, it might be right. It might be just that's a blame game. I don't know, but there is a lot, particularly hamstring injuries. I think we seem to have an incredible number of them, don't we? And Hubby's out for he's going under the knife on Tuesday. He reckons he's out for 16 weeks.
Jesus. He won't be able to use his custom-made golf clubs then in that 16-week period.
No, he's gutted. He's gutted. But I don't know. But I think it's something the club's got to look at, because I think you look at the nature of our injuries this season. There's been a lot of repetitive injuries of a similar type, hasn't there? Look at Gabriel. Look at look at Hubby himself. Apparently his hamstring injury is a really bad one, which is why he's got to go under the knife with it. And
it's a good job. It's a good job it's happened now. If you want to look at the positive.
Yeah, he's
got it happen now.
Cocked up his trip to Marbella with Big Gaz, I think. But so I think Big Gaz is looking for a wingman. So I don't know what you're doing the next few weeks, Mitch. But get on the phone.
Yeah, no problem. To my mate.
Call me.
Well, what could be better than to go away with the organizer of your fan club?
Can I come as well? I want to go on a lad's holiday.
2 weeks in Marbs.
Can we come, mate? Come on, can you ask Gaz if we can come as well?
I will, yeah, for our cultural exploration of Spanish culture. Sure, it will be.
I'm sure Gaz and his pals will be dressing like Tim Portillo,
absolutely.
The bros, the blazers.
To visit the amphitheatres.
I think there couldn't be a wider chasm of difference between Gary Medine's holidays and Tim's.
It's like a documentary, John. It's when the people swap lives, like Tim goes on Gaz Medine's holiday and Gaz goes on Tim's holiday, and then they follow them around with cameras. It'd be brilliant.
So I'll send Gaz on the Dolce Vita, which I'm doing at the end of this month, and I'll go to Marbella. Spend a couple of weeks in Porto Banús.
Oh, this wine, man. It's amazing. What is it? You're red.
Amphitheater? Yeah.
Actually, I think there's a documentary to me now, isn't there?
There is. Hang on.
Absolutely.
As I put on the chat quite a lot, idea for programme. Tim goes with Gary Medine to an amphitheatre. So Blackpool are currently 16th in the table, gentlemen, but could climb to 10th with the victory against Peterborough United on Saturday. Sean, you sat in a hotel in Peterborough.
Yes, I am.
So
it's a bit like Ricky Gervais, isn't it? In The Office, it's almost equivalent, isn't it? Sitting in a hotel room in Peterborough or an office in Reading. Sorry.
Vibes for tomorrow then, Sean. Both teams obviously nothing to play for. Posh already relegated. Will the game be a damp squib or
I
not?
can see it being absolute carnage. I've seen a lot of people tipping over 4.5 goals and just both teams just going for it. They're actually playing some decent football recently under Grant Buchanan. I think they'll probably do well next season, but I think there's a big cry from their end to sort of play the players that are going to be there next season and sort of play the younger kids that are coming through and stuff like that. So perhaps they'll play a week inside. I've seen a lot because it's quite an interesting debate that I've seen is what do you want the strongest team to win? Do you just want to play the strongest team, play all of our strongest players, or do you kind of want to do what we have been doing and mixing it up? I'd probably stick with mixing it up. I think that it's more beneficial for us. But I'm just interested, do people want us to just play the strongest team, play Bowler, play Anderson, play everyone in the strongest side and go for it? Or
we could finish above Preston if we win.
Yeah, normally I would have said just experiment, give others game time, but there is the issue, as Tim has just said, Mitch, about finishing above the Nobbers. They play Middlesbrough at home.
They're going for playoffs, aren't they?
Yeah, so Middlesbrough have got a lot to play for. We're 2 points behind them.
Yeah, if we win and they don't beat us, so I think because of our goal difference, I'm not 100% sure. But I think if we win and they don't win, then we finish above them.
Yeah, it's 1 point, so we can draw and
they lose.
They lose, yeah.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because sort of that thing about playing the strongest team, and there's a few of the players, probably the two that Sean's just mentioned. Well, I suppose he did play Kesh against Derby, but particularly Bowler. It kind of feels a bit weird to bring Bowler back in the side now because you'd think if you were going to...
We've rested him for 2 games, Mitch, so he's fresh and ready to go. So, yes.
He's also been sub for about the 3 before that.
Well, he was crap he's been crap for weeks when he's played. I think sometimes it's easy to obviously remember how he was at his best, but I thought he was shite since Preston. And I just think that there's probably players there which will probably have a generally better performance in the game than Bowler would anyway. But I would be worried if...
the question really is, what is the best team?
Yeah, well, exactly, yeah.
Without Kenny and who else did you say? Virtue's got probably
everyone.
Virtue, there's no Lavery, no Dougal.
Right, then, let's move on to picking the team then.
I should be good at this.
With that in mind. What do you mean?
Well, I've got a bit of intel, haven't I?
Ah, okay. Yeah, so...
Although even I'm struggling at right back.
It was supposed to be Connolly, wasn't it?
I know.
He's injured. Well, he's ill, so I don't know if he's going to play.
Reece James.
What formation we're going to go with first, then?
I think it's going to be 4-4-2.
4-4-2. Maxwell have already pre-added.
Fit again, isn't he?
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
He was fit last game as well. But by what I've understand is that we were approached by Luton for them to take him on emergency loan before they took Matt Ingram from Hull. So I don't know if that had anything to do with the fact he was on the bench and Maxwell was still in, or whether we just fancy playing Maxwell to the end of the season.
Should he have been in net for that Luton-Fulham game then, Sean, if he'd have gone there?
Yeah, if he'd have gone there, then yeah, that would have been the game that he'd have played in, yeah.
Would he have... Was it 7-0? 6-7-0?
Yeah. He was actually good, though. Ingram was actually good in that game. That was how dominant Fulham were, that he was probably still Hull's best player. Hull, Luton's best player.
All right. Okay, let's say Grimmy and Maxwell are both fit. Tim, who would you pick? I'd personally put Grimmy in.
I would put Grimmy in, but I think he'll play Maxwell.
Sean?
So I'm going to go Maxwell.
Yeah, I would play Grim, sure.
I want it to be equivalent.
Who do you want, Tim? Who do you want?
I would play Grimmy.
Mitch, you've got the casting vote. No, you haven't.
Grimmy every
Maybe.
time.
Yeah.
Grimmy's a high quality player who may one day make an England squad. He should play in the game every single time.
Great shout.
Spud. Straight in there.
100%.
Yes, yeah, totally.
So I think we've got Thornley or let's do left back first. I think Garbutt's the natural pick.
Garbutt probably.
Let's do before we do the other centre half. Let's do right back. So Tim, Intel, right back.
Well, I haven't got much intel on right back other than I know that Connolly didn't attend last night because he'd got O'Bill as had Virtue. So whether it's a 24-hour thing and he's fit for Saturday, I don't know. Assuming he's not fit, I think our only real option is to go Reece James at right back, isn't it?
I'm not doing that. No chance.
Who else are you going to play?
I'd rather have a spewing up. I'd rather have Callum Connolly
Jack Moore.
spewing up on the halfway line than have Reece James at right back.
What about Jack Moore?
Assuming he's fit.
Right back.
Yeah, Jack Moore is a good shout. I would play Jack Moore as well. I would play Jack Moore.
He's the best youth player we've got. He's quality. He played pre-season against Southport.
Mitch. He ain't in the list.
Well, he's not. So that's it.
It ain't happening. Sorry.
If you're not going to play Jack Moore, who is, I think, quite widely regarded to be the best prospect we have at that age group level, in this game, when we have no right backs at all, and then
I 100% agree.
Well, we have got a goalkeeper called Moore, so shall I drop him in?
Stick him in.
Yeah, drop in Stuart Moore.
And I'll before I send this out, I'll inspect the dom and change that to a Blackpool shirt. But I'll take your words for it because I don't know anything about him.
He's looked decent to me in the game. I mean, I'm no expert on the youth team, but I've seen the youth cup games and stuff, and he looks a decent player. He looks, Yeah,
I'd like to see a youth team player given a run out. Yeah, I'm all for that.
He's quite attacking.
I think if you're ever going to do it, it's going to be this game, isn't it? And see what the lad can do.
Doesn't mean anything, does it?
I do think we've got a right back issue, so I can see it happening.
Genuinely, it's not just because it's a meaningless game. I think I'd rather see the balance of an actual player who can play the position rather than playing somebody out of position. And if Connolly was fit, bang, straight in there. But I think if he's not, get Jack Moore and give him a go.
And the irony is that Callum Connolly's not a right back either, is he? Really?
No, he's no. But Reece James is his wrong foot all game, which is tricky.
Reece James at right back. Right, who are we having in the centre half then? So we've got Keogh or Thornley.
Keogh.
The chant gets him in. The chant has spoken. Right, midfield. Keshi.
Haven't got any of them.
Keshi went from being an Iniesta.
It's your shout again. It's your turn.
Keshi went from being Iniesta to we've got a new one.
Fielding now.
The Don of the over 50s walking football.
There you go. Player manager.
He did say that he wanted to. He pre-planned subs and that he wanted to put Carey in against Derby, but because of the injuries, he couldn't. So I feel like it's too soon for him to start. But
I think he's going to start, Sean.
So is he fit, Sean? Is he fit?
Yeah.
Hubby was claiming he was going to start.
Oh, well, there you go. Then he's starting.
Now, do we want him to start?
Yeah,
100%.
I think I would do. Yeah.
I want Sonny Carey to play every single game he possibly can do. And we can find
So does that mean I'm dropped?
Sorry, Tim. Sorry. You're in and then you're out.
You can partner him, Tim.
Sorry, I could.
Partner him,
I've still got an engine on me.
Yeah.
Although the engine is taken out of Mitch is sadly now scrapped mid-range estate diesel.
Yeah. There's nothing. The sad thing is, there's nothing wrong with the engine. If only if it was, if it had been that,
So, we say that for a lot of us, Mitch. The engine's still ticking, but it's the bodywork that gets it's a bit knackered.
Kev Stewart, is he fit?
Yeah, he's been on the bench.
I think so. I think he'll start tomorrow.
I didn't like Keshi in the middle last home game. The last game he played. He went from hero to zero in that central midfield role. So I think we should put Keshi on the left. And
I think we should play Kirk because I
okay.
just think he should keep playing because we need to decide whether we want to sign him or not.
Set piece ability as well.
Yeah.
And then we can pay Beasley and Gaz up front again, and it'd be great. Swinging it on their head.
Personally, I'd start Kesh on the left as well. I agree with you.
I'm not.
Mitch, you've got the casting vote then.
Look, I've struggled with Kesh over the last few weeks. I thought he'd gone back to like I had a bit of a sort of thing with Sean about Keshi, and he wasn't as good as Sean says he was. And then he's been brilliant for the first, before he got injured, he was superb. And I was like, no, this guy is a god of the football. He's superb. But he seems to have gone back to the Keshi from last season, which was just kind of pick up the ball, run into a hole, turn around, spin about a bit, then fall over. And he's I'm not sure. I don't know. His head just doesn't look quite right. And Kirk is, you know what you're going to get from him. He's going to deliver the ball well. He's going to be technically fine. So I'm going to go with Kirk. I'm going to go with Kirk, and I'm going to say either Keshi, sort your head out, lad. Do you want to be here or not? Or, stop running around in circles and falling over. Because Charlie Kirk's going to play this week.
I think Kirk gets the nod for me.
Can you tell I'm still hurt that Keshi got the nod over Kai Kai? You see how that's been bubbling for.
Kai did get mentioned while you were on a hiatus, Mitch.
Well,
shame you weren't here.
I did the alert. Will pick it up later.
Right, I'll start with the. I want Bowler to play because I want to see him. I want to see him one more time.
Last game for us, Max.
Yeah.
I don't get this personally. He's been here like a year, and it's like, why does he need a farewell appearance?
Not for farewell. I just want to see him play. Yeah. I just want to see him play.
You're not thinking, Sean? Do you think they're wrapping him in cotton wool because they're selling him?
I'm not going to say either way because I'm just going to take Critchley at face value and say that he's rested. But I mean, and he said that he's available for this game, so we'll see. But
I don't think he's going to start.
I just get a bit frustrated because I feel like they've been manoeuvring for a move for a while now, and I just think he's only been here a season, and for 6 months of that season, he's been trying to find a move to a different club. So I don't know.
He's come to Blackpool even when we first signed him. As I understand it, he came to Blackpool on modest money from what he was on before to kickstart his career again. So it was always about, as I understand it was a mutually beneficial. We'll give you the shop window, and we're getting you on a free, and we're not paying a lot of money. I don't think we're paying a huge amount of money in wages. But if you get the right move, then you go and we make a few quid out of it. So I always understood as a Blackpool fan at the beginning of the season that was the underlying quid pro quo of the deal, that you were gonna, that it was a mutual thing. And I think we honour that, and then what that does is that then allows us, a little bit like Holloway originally tried to do before it went pear-shaped, of sucking players in to say, come and join Blackpool, play for us for 12 months, play for 2 years, you're in the shop window, and then we won't stand in your way if you get the right move. And that can be a way to operate. And
100%.
Well, I think
it just frustrates me a little bit.
You don't rest him because in case he gets injured. That's what you don't do.
Well, that's what they are doing, Tim. Surely.
Yeah, that's what I think they're doing.
Given the fact they wouldn't let Shane Lavery kick a ball around with a bunch of under-9s at Cotton Hall, kind of suggests that's the club's policy to wrap him up in Cotton Hall.
Well, I can understand them not wanting to expose him to unnecessary injury, but there's a difference between that and not playing a player who should be involved to protect his resale. I don't know. I'm not saying that's what they're doing, but if he doesn't start tomorrow, it tells me that
Of course
It's
they are. They
about-
must be doing that. That's what
It's
it's
about wrapping him in cotton wool.
He's gonna score a hat trick and then he's gonna sign a 5-year deal on the pitch at full time.
The cool thing is, the more we say he won't play, the more likely he will play. So that's going to be good.
I think the thing about why do you want to see a farewell appearance of him, I think it's just because he has been a visceral thrill, and there have been moments where there's been moments where, and we've discussed them. There's been moments where he's been way above the level of any of our other wingers. When he gets the ball and he's vaulting over challenges and he's cutting inside and he's going inside. I was trying to describe him to my mate the other day. I said he's one of those players where sometimes when he's on and he beats a player, you can't compute how he's done it. You think, how has he done that? And that is so rare for us. And I personally, whether it's naive, on the Derby game, I wanted to see that one last time. And I wanted to, whatever he's done behind the scenes, I wanted to just clap him off and say, cheers, mate. Thank you. I've really I've really enjoyed watching you play football. You will live long in my mind. Where many Blackpool players I've admired for their effort and their endeavour, and there's many Blackpool players that are quite forgettable, but there's not that many who've given me the visceral thrill of Josh Bowler. And he might have only been here for 9 months, but he was special. And I think we've missed the boat on that farewell appearance because there's going to be, I'm not going to be at Peterborough. Most of us aren't going to be at Peterborough. You're at Peterborough, but there's not going to be that many people at Peterborough. And I think if he was going to get that send off, it should have been in the Derby game, really.
I think the ultimate point is, where was the cry for a farewell appearance for Neil Bishop? Because
Sean, honestly, when Mitch was saying that, I was thinking of bringing Neil Bishop into this. I swear to God.
And to be fair, Kai, we never got a chance to say goodbye to him, either, did we, Mitch?
Well, we did actually, because his last act was lifting the playoff trophy directly in front of me while I clapped him. Little did I know that he would be soullessly removed by the football droids that run our club these days and banished to the wastelands of Wickham, where he would average a goal action per game where he started, proving his class and quality beyond any reasonable doubt in statistical terms.
Right, I'm going to make a call on this. And Josh Bowler was the greatest, what's the word? Bums off seats player since Wes Houlihan.
Yeah. Fair call.
And he's going in the team. One last hurrah.
That must be the longest segment we've ever spent on
one player.
10 minutes on that.
And the irony is that the only person in this quartet of people speaking at the moment that's not really asked about seeing him playing is the only one that's actually going to see him playing.
Yeah.
There's a delicious irony there, isn't there?
Right, who's up top? Are we going for the Twin Towers or not?
Yeah, go on. Beasley, Medine. I'm all for it.
Medine's not playing tomorrow.
He is now, Tim.
No, I'm not having it.
I want Beasley and Yates myself.
I want Beasley and Yates as well.
Beasley and Yates for me. Medine didn't reckon he was going to play tomorrow.
I think Beasley deserves to start anyway.
Yeah.
Given his performances, as does Jerry. I think.
Or JY9, as the other players call him. JY9. Don't know why. Well, obviously I know why, but that's his nickname apparently. Sean should know this, of course, being there at the club every day.
Oh, but yeah. Yeah.
Right, so the team is Grimmy, Garber, Patatokio. What's even Moore's first name?
Jack.
What, the kid or Jack?
Yeah, Jack Moore. Kirk, Stewart, Carey, Bowler, Yates. But it's a good team, that. It's a good team.
That's a winning team, that is.
So if it's a winning team, what's going to be the score? Match predictions, and we'll see the show out with our match predictions for the game. Let's start with you, Tim.
I'm going for a very positive 2-0, coupled with a 2-0 defeat for the Nobbers. That'll see us restore natural order. I did say this to Tom Harrison this afternoon, by the way. Just
What did he say? What did he say?
He was a cry emoji, I think, something like. To be fair, he thinks that we're going to finish above them. But we'd think the same if the boot was on the other foot, wouldn't we?
I think we're going to win 4-2.
Yeah, wow. The last end of season games are always tend to be high scoring. Yeah. You get a lot of games are played on vibes, aren't they? Last day of the season, 4-2. Mitch.
I feel like now I have to top Sean by saying 5-3, but I was going to go for 3-1. I think they're going to score first and look really, really good, and then they're going to sort of fall apart, and we're going to score 3.
I'm going to go 3-1 as well. It was in my mind, so yeah, I think it's going to be goals anyway. It's going to be a bit of a goal fest. Tim, just before we head off, Chris Heaney has just asked any more inside info.
I mean, I've been fairly, I've been with it tonight, so I've come up with a few little tidbits. I think the other thing that sort of came across from the night really was how much the players absolutely love the atmosphere that we sort of bring across at both at Bloomfield Road and away. Hubby was like eulogising about it, and he says all the other players are exactly the same. Critch commented about it, just said how fantastic it is. And I think that's something we could take away. A couple of other tidbits. I think we're going to get some news on the training ground in the next couple of days. Ben Mansford, I know it's been sort of eking on this one without us actually getting any information, but he did say that he was expecting to make a positive announcement in the next couple of days. And bearing in mind previous false starts, I think that's suggests that there's something really positive. I'm also getting the impression that these stands going to cost a fortune, big money. I think the build costs these days are way above what it was when Promenade Construction Limited built the other stands at our ground. So I suspect, I do expect it's been all singing, all dancing stands, to be fair, when it's built. So, and finally, just a final one. Apparently, I think this has sort of been mentioned already in the press, but they reckon they've got £6.5 million from the Levelling Up budget that Boris has set up to help fund that the developments of the north with all the pitches. So when you do turn 50, John, and you migrate to walking football, hopefully you'll be playing it under the shadow of the floodlights at Bloomfield Road.
Ooh, excellent! I can get injured in a whole different location, can't I?
That's it. Yeah, you can come down. You can come down for your once a month appearance before you pull your hammy, and do it in the shadow of the stadium.
Excellent. That's something to look forward to.
So hopefully, Chris, that's enough tidbits for tonight.
There you go. So there you go, viewers, listeners. You've had a load from us tonight. Sorry, we've been off air for a couple of weeks, but yeah, hopefully we've made up for it there. And finally, it's going to be the last reaction show of the season, which will all be coming back on the Sunday after the Peterborough game. So thanks for joining us, gents, this evening. It's been a pleasure to have your company as ever. Thanks everybody watching. Thanks for downloading. Or as we said, is up the pool.
Up the pool. Come on, let's fish from the Dobbers.
Down from the north of England with a great tradition.